There we go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. Hey, look, I got Newsmax going live. We have picture in picture. How exciting is this? Oh, it's Katrina Zish and Bob Brooks. Hang on, let me turn them down for just a minute while we're waiting for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is holding a press conference here in just a little while. I forgot to plug in my headphones that I was wearing during the Kaye Saves the Republic recording, so I got to wear my big old Sony MDR 7506s, which look kind of ridiculous nowadays, but that's all right. Hey everybody, long time no see. It's been a minute, huh? I'm excited about, man, the show was great today. How much stuff did we have to talk to? And then Donald Trump said, look, I'm going to hold this press conference. I'm going to come back for just a minute. And I put on, everyone always says, Mark, why do you wear orange blue blocker glasses? I don't look at them as blue blocker glasses. Although blocking the blue states would be fantastic, right? And blocking all the Democrats would be great. No, these are my Trump, hold on, I'm going to move my camera back now because it's all a shot. These are my Trump, with rose colored, Trump colored. You know, people always say you rose colored, that he sees the world through rose colored glasses, which means everything looks rosy and bright. And it's one of those people that are just always happy. Well, I see the world through Trump colored glasses, meaning everything's, you know, the economy's good and the border's secure and our military's strong and it's not woke and there's only two genders and all those other great things. So I wear my Trump colored glasses, much like people wear rose colored glasses, or beer goggles would be another, beer goggles is another thing that people wear. But anyway, we're waiting on, oh, look, there's John Bachman. John Bachman is live at Mar-a-lago. He's very excited to be there. They need better lighting on him. They need better lighting on John Bachman. So I'm going to text my friends at Newsmax and tell them that. But listen, so Donald Trump called this press conference, and we're pretty sure we know why. We're not really sure what the specific topic is. I assume there's some topic specifically that he wants to comment on. But basically what's happening is I imagine he's taking questions because Kamala Harris refuses to. Kamala Harris has not had a press conference in so long. Oh, wait, you can see my screen, can't you? Hang on, that's going to be a problem. But look at this. It's Markception. I wanted to read some of the comments, but now I'm not going to be able to. Because I'm going to go on my phone. I'm going to read some of the comments, but it's basically, I think with the onus being on Kamala Harris now to answer questions from the media, with her skirting reporters and not having a press conference since she got the nomination or since she shoved out Joe Biden. I imagine this is one of Donald Trump's trolling techniques. He said, look, if she's not going to have a press conference, I will. If she's not going to come out and answer questions, I will. If she's not going to talk about her agenda, I will talk about my agenda. And it's kind of interesting. And it's the kind of thing I love to see from President Trump. What's up, C.A. Smark? What's up, guest Jim? Hello, Jesse. Guys, D. Dockery is here. Fantastic. Guys, thanks so much for being here, by the way. And also, now that I'm not doing the podcast live, and I do have some time, Donald Trump's going to be speaking, and I do have some time to take a look at some of the comments. Make sure you're commenting. And man, if you want to throw up a super chat or two, somebody said it earlier today on YouTube, we are independent now. And all this time that we bring you creating the podcast, all this time that we bring you making sure that, we can get you the news and the information, that kind of stuff. We're all on our own. So any and all super chats on YouTube, and we get them. We get them. We love to see them. We're so thrilled about them. We get them. But if you want to send us a super chat, that would just be swell. And I will read some of them here. In just a minute. Also, ditto on Rumble. If you want to send us a Rumble rant, we'll get to those here in just a minute. But we're waiting on President Donald Trump, who's at Mar-a-Lago, and he is going to give we just heard about this today. In fact, he mentioned it on Truth Social like at 7. It was 7 a.m. maybe 7:20. I don't even know. And at 7 a.m. or 7:20 today, Donald Trump said, I'm going to have a press conference. And again, I totally believe this is trolling Kamala Harris. This 100% has to be, hey, she's not going to talk to you people. I will. We all remember, everyone saw JD Vance, right? Everyone saw him yesterday walk up to the press corps and say, guys, are you lonely? Kamala Harris doesn't talk to you, so I am. That might be my plane one day. That's going to be my plane one day. So why don't I answer some questions for you? And he said, has anyone actually heard from Kamala Harris? And nobody could honestly raise their hands, which was the last time I think the news media has been honest. Anyway, let me take a little swig of my coffee there. But that's what we're waiting for now. Are there going to be specific topics? Probably he's going to mention Tim Walz, maybe a little bit. I imagine he has to. Probably he's going to mention, Kamala Harris, and he'll probably bring up Joe Biden. If he's the Donald Trump that I know, he's going to launch into a lot of what we know he's going to hit on, which is the border and border security, which is how the economy. He's going to talk about what happened on Monday because, man, you want to talk about a news cycle. Monday was the huge crash. It seems like so long ago, doesn't it? Man, it seems like so long ago that we all lost all of our life savings, but it was just Monday. It was this week. It hasn't even been 5 full days since the economic downturn of 2024, one of the worst since the 80s. And Donald Trump, is coming. He's going to talk about that. Kamala Harris never did. Kamala Harris didn't say one word about the economy, didn't tell us how she's going to fix it. Joe Biden didn't come out. Joe Biden's still supposedly in charge. Yeah, right. And he hasn't said one word about it. Karine Jean-Pierre has stumbled her way through several press briefings where she's attempted to talk about it, but hasn't really mentioned anything about it. So now Donald Trump's like, screw it. I'm going to have a press conference and I'm going to come out and tell you everything that you need to know. I want to remind you of what weak leadership does, not just in the world, not just in your lives, but in the economy as well. So that should be real. I'm really kind of looking forward to it. I've seen a lot of bluster online today from people that I like and admire and work with and know, and they're concerned. They're like, there's only 89 days until election day and Donald Trump is dropping the ball, or Trump's campaign team needs to step up their game. All I see is Kamala Harris on the news. All we see is Tim Walz on the news. That Kamala Harris has taken over the news cycle and Donald Trump is floundering. All I see is people saying Donald Trump's behind in the swing. None of that is true, by the way. None of that is true. First of all, 89 days is a long time. You're talking about 3 months. 89 days ago, it was May. 89 days ago, it was May. 89 days ago, Joe Biden was still the nominee for president. 89 days ago, Donald Trump had not been shot. 89 days ago, we didn't even have the RNC where Donald Trump gave his illustrious speech and Kid Rock came out and Dana White came out and Hulk Hogan ripped his shirt up. 89 days ago, Joe Biden hadn't debated. We didn't even have the debate. The debate was in June. June, July. It was one of those. And all of that stuff happened. I mean, May, what? I guess it was May. Hey, Siri, what was 89 days ago? What was the date? I'm sorry, she does it. Oh, May 11th. All right, so it was May 11th. Think about May 11th. I mean, that was that's an insanely long time ago. That was before July 4th. That was before I went on vacation. That was before any of these things happened. And in just the past couple of weeks, what's gone down? Oh, wait, hold on. Here he comes. Let's listen in to Donald Trump as he speaks.
Let's listen to former President Donald Trump.
I think that our country is right now in the most dangerous position it's ever been in, from an economic standpoint, from a safety standpoint. Both gangs on the street and, frankly, gangs outside of our country in the form of other countries that are, frankly, very powerful. They're very powerful countries, and we don't know what we're doing. We have leadership that has no clue how to handle them or how to handle any other situation. We have a lot of bad things coming up. You could end up in a depression of the 1929 variety, which would be a devastating thing. Took many years, took decades to recover from it. And we're very close to that, and we're very close to a world war. In my opinion, we're very close to a world war. We have people that don't know how to handle it. They're not respected. All over the world, they're laughed at. And we can't have that. Most dangerous period of time I've ever seen for our country. With that being said, we have somebody that hasn't received one vote for president, and she's running, and that's fine with me. But we were given Joe Biden, and now we're given somebody else. And I think, frankly, I'd rather be running against somebody else. But that was their choice. They decided to do that because Kamala's record is horrible. She's a radical left person at a level that nobody's seen. She picked a radical left man that is, he's got things done that he has positions that are just not, it's not even possible to believe that they exist. He's going for things that nobody's ever even heard of. Heavy into the transgender world, heavy into lots of different worlds having to do with safety. He doesn't want to have borders. He doesn't want to have walls. He doesn't want to have any form of safety for our country. He doesn't mind people coming in from prisons, and neither does she, I guess, because she's not She couldn't care less. She's the border czar. By the way, she was the border czar 100%. And all of a sudden, for the last few weeks, she's not the border czar anymore, like nobody ever said it. And I just hope that the media becomes more diligent, more honest, frankly, because if they're not going to be honest, it's going to be much tougher to bring our country back. We have a very, very sick country right now. You saw the other day with the stock market crashing. That was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. It's going to get worse. It's going to get a lot worse, in my opinion. And fortunately, we've had some very good polls over the last fairly short period of time. Rasmussen came out today. We're substantially leading, and others came out today that we're leading, and in some cases substantially. I guess MSNBC came out, or CNBC came out also with a poll that was, has us leading, and leading fairly big in swing states. In some polls, I'm leading very big in swing states because they want safety. People want safety. They want security. They want respect all around the world for our country. They don't want this horrible culture that is developing, a culture of no common sense. It's really a culture of no common sense, and it's not what anyone wants. We want to have a safe country. We want to have a strong military. We want low interest rates, and we want to be able to have the American dream. We want to be able to have our youth be able to buy homes, housing, get good jobs. And we're really just at the opposite right now. It's so sad to see. But as a border czar, she's been the worst border czar in history, in the world history. I think the number is 20 million, but whether it's 15 or 20, it's numbers that nobody's ever heard before. 20 million people came over the border during the Biden-Harris administration. 20 million people, and it could be very much higher than that. Nobody really knows what the number is. Nobody knows. Nobody has a clue. And the gotaways, they call them the gotaways. The gotaways are at numbers. Somebody was quizzing me on it the other day. No, I don't think so, sir. I don't think so. They have no idea what those numbers are, but they're much higher than you would think. Just like far more people were killed in the Ukraine-Russia war than you ever report. Just like the October 7th would have never happened. Russia would have never hit Ukraine had the election result been called differently. It was a very bad call, but Russia would not have attacked Ukraine. October 7th in Israel would have never happened. You wouldn't have inflation. A lot of great things would have happened, but now you have millions and millions of dead people, and you have people dying financially because they can't buy bacon, they can't buy food, they can't buy groceries, they can't do anything. And they're living horribly in our country right now. With all of that being said, I think it's very important to have debates, and we've agreed with Fox on a date of September 4th. We've agreed with NBC, fairly full agreement, subject to them, on September 10th. And we've agreed with ABC on September 25th. So we have those three dates, and those networks, they're very anxiously awaiting that date and those dates. So we have September 4th, September 10th, and September 25th. We have spoken to the heads of the network, and it's all been confirmed, other than some fairly minor details. Audience, some location, which city would we put it into, but all things that will be settled very easily, I think it'll be very easy. The other side has to agree to the terms. They may or may not agree. I don't know if they're going to agree. She hasn't done an interview. She can't do an interview. She's barely competent, and she can't do an interview. But I look forward to the debates because I think we have to set the record straight. Why is it that millions of people were allowed to come into our country from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions, insane asylums, even insane asylums? It's a mental institution on steroids. That's what it is. When you see the people that are coming into these are institutions that are being emptied out, not in South America, all over the world, including South America, all over the world. Prisons are being emptied out into our country because we have a president that's the worst president in the history of our country. We have a vice president who is the least admired, least respected, and the worst vice president in the history of our country. The most unpopular vice president, and because of political reasons or because of being politically correct, even though she never received a vote. Don't forget, she was the first one defeated, as I remember it, because I watched it very closely, but she was the first one. She never made it to Iowa, the first state. She never made it to Iowa. She was the first one that was defeated. She was the nastiest to him. She was nasty with calling him a racist and the school bus and all of the different things. She was very nasty to Biden. And shockingly, he appointed her, asked her to serve as vice president. Well, I don't know if he's happy about that decision right now. This was taken away. The presidency was taken away from Joe Biden. And I'm no Biden fan, but I'll tell you what, from a constitutional standpoint, from any standpoint you look at, they took the presidency away. And people were saying he lost after the debate. He couldn't win. Well, I don't know that that's true necessarily. But whether he could win or he couldn't win, he had the right to run. And they took it away. They said they're going to use the 25th Amendment. They're going to hit you hard. Either we can do it the nice. I know exactly, because I know a lot of people on the other side, believe it or not. And they said, we'll do it the nice way or we'll do it the hard way. And he said, all right. So that, I mean, they've really taken, what they've done is pretty incredible. And now I'm running against somebody else, and we're leading. We're leading. So I'm not complaining. I'm saying it's for a country with a constitution that we cherish. We cherish this constitution. To have done it this way is pretty severe, pretty horrible. You would have thought they would have gone out to a vote. They would have had a primary system. They would have done something. But to just take it away from him like he was a child. And he's a very angry man right now, I can tell you that. He's not happy with Obama, and he's not happy with Nancy Pelosi, crazy Nancy. She is crazy, too. She's not happy with any of the people that told him that you've got to leave. He's very unhappy, very angry. And I think he also blames her. He's trying to put up a good face. But it's a very bad thing in terms of a country when you do that. I'm not a fan of his, as you probably have noticed. And he had a rough debate. But that doesn't mean that you just take it away like that. Or you go out to a vote. You do something. He had 14 million votes. She had no votes. She got no votes. And I think she's crashing. I think when people find out, and I think people are starting to find out what a bad job she did, what a bad job she did on the border. She's trying to say she had nothing to do with the border. She had everything. She was appointed to head the border. And then they said, border czar, oh, she loved that name. She loved that name. But she never went there. She went to a location once along the border, but that was a location that you would love to go and have dinner with your husband or whoever. That was a location that was not part of the problem. That was not really going to the border. So essentially, she never went to the border. And if you listen to Tom Homan, if you listen to the great border people, Brandon Judd from Border Patrol, if you listen to Paul, I mean, so many different people. I speak to them all the time. And I did when I was president. We had the best border in the history of our country. Now we have the worst border in the history of the world. Millions of people coming in, and our country cannot sustain it. Our country is going down because of this, because of incompetent people. So I just look forward to these debates. I think it's very important that we have them. I hope she agrees to them, September 4th, September 10th, September 25th. And I think they'll be very revealing. I think they'll be very revealing. Do you have any questions, please?
Question time. This will be good.
I haven't recalibrated.
Have you recalibrated your strategy?
It's the same policies: open borders, weak on crime. I think she's worse than Biden, because he got forced into the position. She was there long before. She destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed California as the AG. But as the DA, she destroyed San Francisco. A friend of mine, Bob Tisch, all know the Tisch family. He was in many cities with companies. He said the greatest city in the country is San Francisco. That was about 20 years ago. And he passed away a while ago, and he would be looking down and said, what happened? He thought it was the best city in the country. He had divisions there, lows. And he would be looking down in horror now when he sees she destroyed no cash bail, weak on crime. She's terrible. And yet they weaponized the system against me. They have me. I got so many lawyers. Now they want to delay cases. I won the big case in Florida. I won the big case. Nobody even wrote about it. The big case, the judge was a brilliant judge and all they do is they play the ref with the judges. But this judge was a fair but brilliant judge. And as you probably heard, the big documents case, I won it. Now, Biden lost it because he didn't have presidential immunity. He didn't have the Presidential Records Act. He lost it. But the special, I call it prosecutor, special counsel, special prosecutor to me, he, appointed by him and appointed by Garland, he said the man's incompetent. He can't stand trial, but he can run for president. But we no longer have to worry about that because we have somebody that, in my opinion, is more incompetent. She couldn't pass her bar exam and lots of other things, and she should not be in a position. Because if she becomes president, our country is going to be a giant fail. It's going to fail. It's going to be a failure the likes of which this world has never seen. Yeah, please. No, how about you? You have to speak louder.
Strategy. Before Harris. Appealing to black voters. How are you going to win black voters?
Around a little bit. I'm getting other voters. Perhaps, I was doing very well with black voters, and I still am. I seem to be doing very well with black males. This is according to polls, as you know. It's possible that I won't do as well with black women, but I do seem to be doing very well with other segments, extremely well with Hispanic. Jewish voters way up. White males way up. White males have gone through the roof. White males way up. Now, I don't know. All we're doing is giving you the stats that you have. It could be that I'll be affected somewhat with black females, where we're doing pretty well. And I think ultimately they'll like me better because I'm going to give them security, safety, and jobs. I'm going to give them a good economy. We have a very bad economy right now. We could literally be on the throes of a depression, not recession, a depression. And they can't have that. They can't have that. So I think I'm going to do well with everybody, especially when the facts are right. Yeah, please, in the back. Well, I don't know. I know Josh Shapiro. He's a terrible guy, and he's not very popular with anybody. I think that this election maybe is better than Josh Shapiro would have been. But I think other than Josh Shapiro, I think she had some good choices. But Josh Shapiro is not one of them. He's caused a lot of damage with a lot of people. And I don't think he would have been better. I think he would have been maybe the equivalent, maybe not as good. But they had some people that they were looking at that were good, far superior to her. They actually had a story where they had everybody, including, they had like 10 people that she was looking at, and her. And they said she was the worst of all. In other words, she was the worst out of the 10 people and her. I don't know how that's going to work out. We'd like to do 3 debates. We think we should do 3 debates. We think Fox and ABC. And we also have CBS is going to do the vice presidential debate. So CBS will do vice presidential. And I have to tell you, J.D. Vance has really stepped up. He's doing a fantastic job.
Hear, hear. I agree. I concur, Mr. President.
Say it.
You're worried about the size of Harris's crowds at her events. Give me a break.
Listen, I had 107,000 people in New Jersey. You didn't report it. I'm so glad you asked. What did she have yesterday? 2,000 people? If I ever had 2,000 people, you'd say my campaign is finished. It's so dishonest, the press. And here's a great example. I had in Michigan recently 25,000 people, and 25,000 people we just couldn't get them in. We had in Harrisburg 25,000 people, and 20,000 people couldn't get in. We had so many. Nobody ever mentions that. When she gets 1,500 people, and I saw it yesterday on ABC, which they said, oh, the crowd was so big. I have 10 times, 20 times, 30 times the crowd size, and no, they never say the crowd was big. That's why I'm always saying turn around the cameras. I'm so glad you asked that. I think it's so terrible when you say, well, she has 1,500 people, 1,000 people, and they talk about, oh, the enthusiasm. Let me tell you, we have the enthusiasm. The Republican Party, and me as a candidate, but the Republican Party has the enthusiasm.
True.
Because people want to see crime stopped.
Yes.
They want to see a country that's respected. Think of it.
Yes.
If I were president, you wouldn't have Russia and Ukraine, where it never happened. Zero chance. You wouldn't have had October 7th of Israel. You wouldn't have the horrible withdrawal. And I don't mean the withdrawal, because the withdrawal was fine. I was ready to withdraw from Afghanistan, and we were going to do it with dignity and strength. And we were keeping our equipment. We weren't leaving $85 billion worth of equipment behind. And we wouldn't have had 13 great soldiers. I know the families of those soldiers well. We wouldn't have had these soldiers killed. And we wouldn't have had 45 soldiers obliterated. No legs, no arms, the face. None of that would have happened. And you wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had any inflation, because inflation was caused by their bad energy problems. Now they've gone back to the Trump thing because they need the votes. I don't know if you know, they're drilling now because they had to go back because gasoline was going up to $7, $8, $9 a barrel. So they said, we better do what Trump. But the day after the election, if they won, you're going to have fuel prices go through the roof. Everybody's going to be forced to buy an electric car, which they're not going to do because they don't want that. It's got a great market. It's got a market. It's really a sub-market. People want gasoline-propelled cars. They want hybrids. They want to have everything, and they want electric. But they want everybody to have an electric car. We don't have enough electricity. We couldn't make enough electricity for that. And you know what else? The weight of a car, the weight of a truck. They want all trucks to be electric. Little things that a lot of people don't talk about. The weight of a truck is 2.5 times. 2.5 times heavier. You would have to rebuild every bridge in this country if you were going to do this ridiculous policy. So, but on crowd size...
Build back better, though.
In history, for any country, nobody's had crowds like I have, and you know that. And when she gets 1,000 people and everybody starts jumping, you know that if I had 1,000 people would say, that's the end of his campaign. I have hundreds of thousands of people. In South Carolina, I had 88,000 people. In Alabama, I had 68,000 people. Nobody says about crowd size with me. But she has 1,000 people or 1,500 people, and they say, oh, the enthusiasm's back. No, no. The enthusiasm is with me and the Republican Party because they want to stop crime. They want to stop people from pouring into our country from places unknown and from countries unknown, from countries that nobody ever heard of. That's where the enthusiasm is. Yeah. I don't know.
Governor Kemp, can you repair the relationship with Governor Kemp in Georgia?
Without me, he wouldn't be governor. I got him elected. He was doing terribly. I got him elected. With that being said, I hope we can repair it. But if we don't, the people are still the people, and they're going to vote. We're leading in Georgia by a lot. We're leading in Pennsylvania by a lot. So, but I don't know. Now, in Pennsylvania, I have great relationships. In Georgia, I do too, but unfortunately not with the governor. I've never understood it. When you get somebody elected, they're supposed to like you. He's not exactly... for some reason, and you'll have to ask him about that. Yeah, I'd love to see it get repaired. I think that if we don't win Georgia, Georgia is a big win, is a big state. So I won Alabama by a record. Nobody's ever gotten that many votes. I won South Carolina by a record. You don't win Alabama and South Carolina by records and lose Georgia. It doesn't happen. And the people of Georgia understand that. There was tremendous anxiety and problems in Georgia. A lot of people say, what happened? And we have to, all we want is honest elections. If we have honest elections in Georgia, and we have honest elections in Pennsylvania, we're going to win them by a lot.
What about a peaceful transfer of power?
Well, he actually said it two ways. First, he said it incorrectly, then he corrected himself. Do you agree with that? Right? You know, if you watch him. He said it two ways. No. I mean, he said it two ways because he doesn't really know what he's saying. Why didn't he bring it up at the debate? You know, he had a chance for 90 minutes to bring it up at the debate. He could have talked about that at the debate, and he didn't do it. Everyone said, oh, he said this and he said that. He's just, they give him something to read off. He read it very badly because he actually said it the opposite. Then he had to go back and correct himself. He said the opposite. He should have brought this up at the debate. If he had a problem, of course there'll be a peaceful transfer. And there was last time, and there'll be a peaceful transfer. I just hope we're going to have honest elections. That's all, okay? What a stupid question this is.
You haven't had a public...
Because I'm leading by a lot and because I'm letting their convention go through, and I am campaigning a lot. I'm doing tremendous amounts of taping here. We have commercials that are at a level I don't think that anybody's ever done before. Plus, in certain cases, I see many of you in the room where I'm speaking to you on phones, I'm speaking to radio, I'm speaking to television.
He's literally talking to people.
Television's coming over here. Excuse me, what are we doing right now? She's not doing any news conference. You know why she's not doing it? Because she can't do a news conference. She doesn't know how to do a news conference. She's not smart enough to do a news conference. And I'm sorry, we need smart people to lead this country because our country's never been in this danger before, both economically
who is that
and
reporter?
From an outside perspective. Russia doesn't respect us anymore. China doesn't respect us anymore. North Korea, Kim Jong-un, liked me a lot. He doesn't like this group. We are in great danger. We're in great danger of being in World War III. That could happen. No, after their convention, yeah. And I'm going out. Actually, I'm going out to certain places to help certain senators get elected. Not even for me. I'm trying to help when I go out to Wyoming or when I go out to Montana or I'm going to different places.
You're asking me during this campaign event why I'm not doing campaign events.
I don't have to go there because I'm leading those states, as you know, by 35, 40, 50 points. I'm leading by record numbers. I'm going because I want to help senators and congressmen get elected. Congressmen and women get elected. Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that's hilarious.
The upcoming what? Oh, yeah.
Talk about the Elon Musk interview coming up on Monday.
Elon Musk. So, yeah, sure. So Elon called me.
Elon called, okay.
As you know, he endorsed me full-throated. Great endorsement. I respect Elon a lot. He respects me. And not easy for him to endorse, to be honest with you. It takes courage to endorse people. Many people have courage and many people don't. He does have courage. And Elon endorsed me, and he asked me whether or not I'd do a show on Monday, and I think it's going to be Monday night.
Monday night.
And I believe he's the host of the show.
That's going to be
it'll be very interesting.
Amazing.
A lot of people are talking about it. I look forward to it. That'll be done on Monday night.
Monday night. What should social media companies do to combat potential misinformation?
You have a lot of misinformation spread about China, and you have a lot of misinformation spread about a lot of different places. I think I'm going to get along great with China. President Xi of China and I were very good friends.
That was a quick pivot, by the way, if you didn't notice.
Except we had a beautiful sofa there, as opposed to what we have right now.
That was a quick pivot.
We have you. But President Xi and I had a very good relationship until COVID. And I held him responsible for COVID. It broke up our relationship. But I think we're going to have a great relationship. And I think it's going to be mutually beneficial. But we cannot have it where China is taking advantage of the United States. And that's what they were doing, as you very well know. Yes, please.
What a dumb question.
What's your question? No, I think the people that, if you look at January 6th, which a lot of people aren't talking about very much, I think those people were treated very harshly when you compare them to other things that took place in this country.
She's saying it wasn't a peaceful transfer of power last time.
January 6th. But I think that the people of January 6th were treated very unfairly. And they were there to complain, not through me, they were there to complain about an election. And, it's very interesting. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I said peacefully and patriotically, which nobody wants to say, but I said peacefully and patriotically.
That checks out, by the way.
The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and you've seen many.
Several times.
I was at the mall. I was at the Washington Monument. I was at the whole thing. I had crowds. I don't know who's ever had a bigger crowd than I have, but I had it many times. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken before was that day. And I'll tell you, it's very hard to find a picture of that crowd. You see the picture of a small number of people relatively going to the Capitol, but you never see the picture of the crowd. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken, I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people. If not, we had more. And they said he had 1 million people, but I had 25,000 people. But when you look at the exact same picture, and everything's the same because it was the fountains, the whole thing, all the way back to from Lincoln to Washington, and you look at it, and you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people. They said I had 25,000, and he had 1 million people, and I'm okay with it because I liked Dr. Martin Luther King. Yeah, please.
He's okay with it. He's cool with that. He's cool with that fabrication. Do you think it was constitutional for the Democrats to replace President Biden with Kamala Harris? Is the question, I believe.
Yeah, sure. We have a constitution. It's a very important document, and we live by it.
Yes.
She has no votes, and I'm very happy to run against her. I'm not complaining from that standpoint. And I hate to be defending him, but he did not want to leave. He wanted to see if he could win. They said, you're not going to win. After the debate, they said, you're not going to win. You can't win. You're out. And at first they said it nicely, and he wasn't leaving. And then you know it better than anybody.
You know the thing.
Wait a minute. So when you think about it, they said at first they were going to go out to another vote. They were going to go through a primary system, a quick primary system, which it would have to be. And then it all disappeared, and they just picked a person that was the first out. She was the first loser, okay? So we call her the first loser. She was the first loser when during the primary system. During the Democrat primary system, she was the first one to quit, and she quit. She had no votes, no support, and she was a bad debater, by the way, very bad debater.
As opposed to a master debater.
That's not the thing I'm looking forward to, but she was a bad debater. She did obviously a bad job. She never made it to Iowa. Then for some reason, and I know he regrets it, you do too, he picked her, and she turned on him too. She was working with the people that wanted him out. But the fact that you can get no votes, lose in the primary system, in other words, you had 14 or 15 people, she was the first one out, and that you can then be picked to run for president, it seems to me actually unconstitutional. Perhaps it's not. Please.
Is there any way you see her? Is there any
So
way you
I've
see
run against Hillary.
Oh, hold on. I couldn't hear the question.
I've run against various other people. I would say that in terms of intelligence, Hillary was far superior. I would say that.
Well,
Hillary
nice.
was smart.
That's nice. It's a
She
compliment.
was her own worst enemy in many ways, but she was smart, very smart. Okay? If you ask me to compare them. Please.
How do you plan to build?
Would you repeat that question?
Yeah, I couldn't hear. No one could hear it.
You have to speak up. Yes, sir. It's a hard room because it's very big, if you know. So this is worth $18 million. Oh, I see.
Dig.
Yeah. So I think the abortion issue
Oh, the abortion
been
issue,
very
good.
much tempered down, and I've answered, I think, very well in the debate.
Clear
and
this
it seems
up,
to
too.
be much
'Cause
less
she
of
keeps
an
lying
issue,
about it.
especially for those where they have the exceptions, as you know. And I think it's when I look for 52 years, they wanted to bring abortion back to the states. They wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, and that's Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and everybody. Liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted it back in the states, and I did that. Now the states are voting. And frankly, some of the votes are much more, if you could say, liberal than you would think. Ohio turned out to be, they had a big vote, and it turned out to be a much more liberal standing than people would have thought.
Truth.
Kansas, the same thing. And then you have Texas and you have other places where it may be different. But the issue has been brought back to the states now. And like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly. I think that that's a very important thing. I think when you have to follow your heart. But when you don't believe in the exceptions, I think it's much tougher. It's a much tougher issue. But about 82% of Republicans do believe in exceptions. I think and a lot of them are changing their mind and coming even further. I think that abortion has become much less of an issue. It's a very small, I think it's actually going to be a very small issue. What I've done is I've done what every Democrat and every Republican wanted to have done, and we brought that issue back to the states. And now the states are voting on it. And frankly, some of the votes are a lot different than people would have thought. But it's the vote of the people is taking care of it. And, when you think about the Democrats are really the radical ones on this because they're allowed to do abortion on the 8th and 9th month and even after birth. If you look at your new governor from Minnesota, he's like the governor previous, the former governor. I don't want to get him mixed up because Glenn is doing a good job and he's leading our whole campaign in Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. But previous to Glenn, the governor, he said, the baby will be born, we will put the baby aside, and we will decide with the mother what we're going to do. In other words, whether or not we're going to kill the baby. The Minnesota gentleman, this guy agrees with that. He is the most liberal. Look, between her and him, there's never been anything like this. There's never been a combination. So I'll use the word progressive. They want to go progressive. They don't like the word liberal. I like liberal better. I think it's more appropriate because nobody knows what progressive means. But they now like to use the word progressive. But there's certainly never been anybody so liberal like these two, or even close. I think the abortion issue has been
7506s, which look like
I don't think it's a big factor anymore, really. And when people hear what I said in the debate, and I think I said it very well during the debate, we brought it back to the states. Everybody wanted it in the states. And very importantly, and you think about this, assuming you have exceptions. If you don't have exceptions, it's a more difficult thing. At the same time, there are people that strongly feel that way, and you have to follow your heart, and you should follow your heart. But that issue is very much subdued. Yeah, thank you.
Interesting take that abortion is less of an issue. I like it.
About who? Yes.
Oh, did the fact that somebody shot you with an AR-15 change your impression? Stupid.
If you take away guns, she wants to take away everyone's gun. If you take away guns, you can't do it because people need the guns for protection. Now, entertainment, they want it, hunting, they want, different things. But they need weapons for protection in this country. People live out in the woods and they're not going to have a gun. If you look at some countries, I don't want to get them in trouble, but some countries have actually gone the opposite way. They have very strong gun laws, and now they have gone the opposite way, where they allowed people to have guns, where in one case they encouraged people to go out and get guns, and crime is down 29%. And remember this, what is the toughest gun law in the United States?
Chicago.
Yeah. On July 4th, 117 people were shot and 17 died. The toughest gun laws in the United States are in the city of Chicago. You know that. They had 117 people shot. Afghanistan does not have that. Afghanistan, by the way, was the lowest point in the history of our country, in my opinion. That was the worst embarrassment to the history of this country, and I say Putin would not have gone into Ukraine if that didn't happen. When he saw the incompetence of Milley and all these guys that are incompetent, when he saw that happen, when they took out the soldiers first, they took out the soldiers first. If you go back and check your records, for 18 months, I had a talk with Abdul. Abdul was the leader of the Taliban, still is. But I had a strong talk with him.
One of my favorite stories.
For 18 months, not one American soldier was shot at or killed, but not even shot at. 18 months, and then we had the disaster of the lift, where people were falling off airplanes from 3 times the height of the World Trade Center. I mean, terrible. But now our country has to be respected again. Please. Go ahead, please.
There was reporting, I believe, in the New York Times that Kamala Harris said she might be open to the idea of a weapons embargo against Israel. Comment on that.
I'd be against that.
A weapons embargo against Israel.
That Kamala is in favor of not giving Israel weapons? Yeah. That's what I hear. Look, she's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad to Jewish people. And I say it, if anybody I know is Jewish and they would vote for Kamala over me, they should have their head examined. If you think about it, I
don't
gave
get it
them
either.
Golan Heights. I gave them the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. I even built the embassy. I gave them no Iran deal. The problem is they didn't do anything with it. Iran was broke. We could have made a deal so easily. I would have had a deal done within 1 week after the election with Iran. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. We would have gotten along with Iran. I was looking forward to it. I was fine with Iran. You know, we hit them a couple of times pretty hard. But we would have been
But we were good
fine
friends
with Iran.
We were fine.
But I terminated that deal. I got them the Abraham Accords. Everyone
true.
said that's impossible.
It happened.
I got them the Abraham Accords. She's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad and disrespectful to Jewish people. And any Jewish person that votes for Kamala and her friend, her new friend, who I don't know if she knew him before, but I don't think he's too good. But anybody that votes for them, if you're Jewish or if you love Israel, you have to have your head examined. Go ahead, please.
Fair point. I mean, fair point.
They have. The FBI came to see me about the shooter.
The FBI and Secret Service, are they doing a good
I think
job?
they've done a very good job. And I think they did a very good job with respect to this other lunatic that they have in custody. Please.
Mayor of San Francisco,
Vice President
and how
Harris's
that might have
relationship- Oh, there's a
intersected with
microphone.
her career trajectory. So I'm just wondering if you followed that discussion at all and have any thoughts on that.
Well, I know Willie Brown very well. In fact, I went down in a helicopter with him. We thought maybe this is the end. We were in a helicopter going to a certain location together, and there was an emergency landing. This was not a pleasant landing, and Willie was, he was a little concerned. So I know him pretty well. I mean, I haven't seen him in years. But he told me terrible things about her. But this is what you're telling me anyway, I guess. But he had a big part in what happened with Kamala. But I don't know, maybe he's changed his tune, but he was not a fan of hers very much at that point.
Certify your election victory if you win?
Yeah, I do.
How are you
Go ahead.
planning to vote on Florida's abortion referendum in November?
On what?
How are
On
you
what?
planning to vote on Florida's abortion referendum this November?
Well, I'm going to announce that. I'm going to actually have a press conference on that at some point.
He's going to have a press conference about his,
tell you now.
about his abortion vote. Interesting.
Florida does have a vote coming up on that. And I think probably the vote will go in a little more liberal way than people thought.
Vote no on
But I'll
4.
be announcing that at the appropriate time. Please.
No on 4. Is it 4? Yeah.
Tax cuts from your administration will be coming up, fairly soon and potentially expiring. And I wanted to ask you specifically about the tax code favoring parents versus people who don't have children. There are a number of tax breaks for parents.
Yeah. We gave tremendous for child care and all of that. No, our tax cuts, which are the biggest in history, our tax cuts are coming due, as you know, very soon. And if the Democrats don't renew them or make it impossible to renew because it's pretty close in terms of vote, if they don't renew them, it's the equivalent of having a 4 times tax increase from what you have right now, and it'll destroy the economy. I think they're under tremendous pressure to do it. I've never seen, all my life I grow up and I watch politics, and I used to be on the other side of politics very soon. Then I run for office. But in all the years of studying politics, I've never seen people get elected by saying, we're going to give you a tax increase.
Yeah.
These guys get up. Think of it. We're going to give you no security. We're going to give you a weak military. We're going to give you no walls, no borders, no anything. All these things they're doing. I mean, the transgender became such a big thing. But they do all of these things, but they always say, we're going to give you a tax increase. I never heard anybody campaign on a tax increase. A politician has always said, I will cut taxes. I'll give you one example.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. I am going to leave Social Security. I'm not raising the years. I'm not raising the age. I will be saving Social Security, and I'm going to work it out that there's no tax on Social Security for seniors. I'm also doing no tax on tips. No tax on tips. So waiters, waitresses, caddies, people that drive cars, people that get tips who have been harassed by this government, we're going to have no tax on tips. That's a big thing.
I like the sound effects. All press conferences should have sound effects.
Bannon was politically motivated?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Sure. Because other people have done far bigger things than Steve Bannon. Sure, it's politically motivated. I think it's a horrible thing they did.
Was Steve Bannon's arrest politically
they've
motivated?
Weaponized government against me. Look at the Florida case. It was a totally weaponized case. All of these cases, by the way, the New York cases are totally controlled out of the Department of Justice. They sent their top person to the various places. They went to the AG's office, got that one going. Then he went to the DA's office, got that one going, ran through it. No, this is all politics, and it's a disgrace. Never happened in this country. It's very common that it happens, but not in our country. It happens in banana republics and third world countries, and that's what we're becoming. We have no borders. We have bad voting regulations. Anytime you have mail-in ballots, you're going to have problems. France learned that lesson. You know, France had all mail-in voting, and they went back to paper ballots, voter identification, voter ID. They went back to a normal system, one-day voting. They don't want to be around, voting for 64 days. And look, the election, I keep talking about November 5th, but the election really starts on September 6th. That's when it starts because it's early voting.
That's why you need that debate.
We should have one-day voting. We should have paper ballots. We should have voter ID, and we should have proof of citizenship. Please.
That's why you need the September 4th. That's why that's so important, that debate.
No, the gentleman.
Mr. President, do you support continuation tax credits for EVs? And secondly, for electric vehicles, do you support the continuation of tax credits for those?
You're going to have to talk louder.
Do you support continuation of tax credits for EVs? And secondly, what sort of political or policy advice does Elon Musk give you?
Elon is a very different kind of a guy. He's a very big believer in the country, but he's very worried about the country. He's very worried about the country. And I don't know if it's good for him politically to have supported me, although I think we have a vast majority of this country does support me. But Elon, more than almost anybody I know, I mean, he loves this country. He loves the concept of the country. But like me, he says this country is in big trouble. It's in tremendous danger. Okay, please.
Overwhelmingly that Americans trust you more than Kamala Harris to fix the U.S. economy. What message?
I like this guy.
What message do you have to Americans, sir, who are struggling to pay for everyday life, such as groceries, rent?
The polls have suggested. There are some polls that say we're going to win in a landslide.
Yeah, there's all polls say that.
People are voting with their stomachs, meaning they're going to the grocery store. They're paying 50, 60, 70% more for food than they did just a couple of years ago. Look at what's happened to energy. Look at what's happened not only to their cars, where gasoline's gone from $1.87.
Yeah.
And we had moments when it was below that. But it's gone from $1.87 to $5, $6, and $7. And they take the strategic national reserves and they take it out, even though it's peanuts compared, it doesn't last long. But they're virtually empty now. We've never had it this low. And he's using that to keep the gasoline prices as low as possible. He's sucked all of the oil out, essentially the gasoline, to keep the price down a little bit, and it's had very little impact. But you know what? We have no strategic national reserves now. He's emptied it. It's almost empty. It's never been this low. And I had it at a good level, and I would have had it more if the Democrats would have approved the deal. You know, I had a deal to buy it at $22 a barrel, and now it's going to be close to 100 pretty soon, my opinion. And the Democrats didn't want to do that, but we bought a lot anyway. And we had it pretty good. And what they've done to the national reserves, the strategic national reserves, is, as you know very well, because you cover it, but what they've done is incredible. They've just, for the sake of getting some votes, for the sake of having gasoline, you know, that's meant for wars. It's meant for, like,
wars, hurricanes.
Tragedy.
Tragedy,
It's not meant to keep
Not
a
a political
gasoline price
tool.
down so that somebody can vote for Biden, or in this case, Kamala, who, by the way, is worse than Biden, and she's actually not as smart.
FYI, in case you
Okay,
forgot.
she's actually not as smart.
Reminder.
That's hard to believe, isn't it? Yeah, please. Okay. Sure, you could do things that would supplement, absolutely, and those things are pretty open and humane. But you have to be able to have a vote, and all I want to do is give everybody a vote, and the votes are taking place right now as we speak. Yeah, but it's a very good.
I mean, the abortion thing seems at this point cut and dry. It's to the states.
Outside of that, but you also have to give a vote, and the people are going to have to decide. Okay, yes, please. You. On what? No, I think she's actually not as smart as he is. I don't think he's very smart either, by the way. I'm not a big fan
How many
of his
people are
brain,
talking? There's way too many people
but
talking.
I think that she's actually not as smart as he is.
Attribute her rising in the polls as becoming a more competitive race since she's taken over for Biden?
Well, she's a woman. She represents certain groups of people. But I will say this. When people find out about her, I think she'll be much less. And I see it right now. I see her going way down in the polls now. Now that people are finding out that she destroyed San Francisco, she destroyed the state of California along with Governor Gavin Newsom. He's been a terrible governor, terrible. But they did it together. And she was early. I mean, she was the first of the prosecutors, really. You know, now you see Philadelphia, you see Los Angeles, you see New York, you see various people that are very bad. But she was the first of the bad prosecutors. She was early.
White House having daily press briefings? Will your White House do daily press briefings?
Will your White House do daily press briefings is the question.
Your White
No, you. Would you repeat it?
Give her the microphone.
To speak up. This room is very
It's huge.
louder.
Huge room.
briefing.
Do you hear her?
You commit to your White House doing daily press briefings.
Daily press briefing? Why would I do that? I would give you all the press briefings you want. Look what I'm doing here. But why would I do a daily press? You'd get tired of me very fast. No, but I will give you total access, and you'll have a lot of press briefings, and you'll have from me. Now, are you talking about from me or from a press secretary? Well, yeah, probably they'll do something. If it's not daily, it's going to be a lot. You'll have more than you want.
President Biden has vowed not to pardon his son Hunter, who is now a convicted felon and faces more felony charges in his upcoming trial for alleged tax evasion. Would you consider granting clemency or a pardon to Hunter Biden if
I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk about it. I think it's a tragic
Would you
story.
pardon Hunter
No,
Biden is your question?
And I felt that with Hillary Clinton, too. You know, with Hillary Clinton, I could have done things to her that would have made your head spin.
Whoa.
I thought it was a very bad thing. Take the wife of a president of the United States and put her in jail. And then I see the way they treat me. That's the way it goes. But I was very protective of her. Nobody would understand that, but I was. I think my people understand it. They used to say, lock her up, and I'd say, just relax, please. We won the election. I think it would be I think it would have been horrible for our country and we had her between the hammering of all of the files. And don't forget, she got a subpoena from the United States Congress. And then, after getting the subpoena, she destroyed everything that she was supposed to get. I thought it was so bad to take her and put her in jail, the wife of a president of the United States. And then, when it's my turn, nobody thinks that way. I thought it was a very terrible thing. And she did a lot of very bad things. I'll tell you what, she was pretty evil. But in terms of the country and in terms of unifying the country, bringing it back, to have taken her and to have put her in jail, and I think you know the things as well as I do. There were some pretty bad acts that she did. I think it would have been very bad for our country. And a lot of my people, a lot of the MAGA, as they call them, but the base. And I think the base is 75% of the country, far beyond the Republican Party, because we're a party of common sense, and I'm a person of common sense. I want to have low taxes. I want to have strong borders. I want to have a strong military so that China and Russia, look, they've allowed China and Russia to do the impossible combined. They're natural enemies. They always have been, because China needs more land and Russia has it. They've always been natural enemies. And because of Obama, it started with him, and then Biden, because he didn't know what the hell he was doing, they've now become one force. And then now they're adding Iran to it, and they're adding North Korea to it. Pretty powerful force. This is something that is unthinkable that they allowed to happen.
You're saying that you're not going to change your campaign strategy, you're going to keep going with the issue. Well, what if this so-called honeymoon period doesn't end?
I can't hear what she's saying.
Oh, it's going to end.
Something about your
The honeymoon
campaign.
period's going to end. Look.
Oh, the honeymoon
She's got a little period. She's got a convention coming up. It's about policy. It's not about her. I think she's incompetent because I've watched her. She destroyed California. She destroyed San Francisco. Everything she's touched has turned to bad things. I'm not going to use foul language, but everything she's touched has turned bad. She's incompetent. The reason she's not doing what I do and she's not doing what she should be doing, she won't even do interviews with friendly people.
That's
because
true.
she can't do better than Biden. Now, he had a reason for not doing well, and he was never, 25 years ago, the sharpest or brightest bulb in the ceiling. That I can tell you, okay? He wasn't. But he could do interviews at least. Not lately, he couldn't, perhaps. But she should be doing interviews. She doesn't want to do interviews. And the reason she doesn't is, number one, her policies are so bad. Just to answer your question, I think that it's not going to change because it's really ultimately not about her as much as about her policies. She wants open borders. She wants to defund the police. She wants to defund the police. She wants to take away your guns. Anybody that thinks they're not going to come after your guns, you know, when I was president, I totally protected the guns. And I think it's very important. And I know I take some heat sometimes for it, but you have to have safety. You have to have, when the bad guy walks in with a gun, you got to have some way of protecting yourself. And
Good
boy,
guys
that
with
would
guns.
be, you would see crime go up at levels that you've never seen. When people say on this side of the house, this house has guns, we will use the guns, they say, let's pass. We'll go someplace else. You have to have them. And for 4 years, and you know, as you know, the NRA endorsed me very powerfully every time I ran, every time. My sons are members, and I guess indirectly I'm a member too. But they gave me the strongest of endorsements, and that's against very strong competition. People that felt the same way. No, you have to have that right. Our Second Amendment is a very important right, and it has to be protected. Okay, how about you? Go ahead.
Predicting a depression.
So there are some of the most brilliant people on Wall Street that are saying that if President Trump doesn't win, you're going to have a depression. I happen to agree. I think that's true.
I agree
because
too.
I know
concur.
how bad these people are.
I concur with
they
the
like
people
to
saying
say
vote for
that
me.
They did this and that. You saw the $7 trillion that they said it was me for $7 trillion. It wasn't me. It was them. They said that I had inflation. They took over 9% inflation. No, I had 1% inflation. I had actually no inflation because if you look at the categories, we had just about no inflation. But I had a very minor, I actually had a positive inflation. It was a perfect number because you don't want zero. I mean, I'm not going to give you a whole course on economics, but you don't want zero. 1%, 1.4% is great. You want a little bit because you don't want to have deflation. Deflation is, in many ways, even worse. I had a perfect number right around the 1% number. It was perfect. And to show you, it stayed there for 2 years. And then he did all of the different borrowings that he did. And then he did so many things wrong. Every time he would do it, I'd say, big mistake. And don't forget, they sell hats and they sell stories. Trump was right about everything. I've been right about a lot. Yes, Maggie.
When you were president, you pardoned violent drug dealers, you pardoned violent felons, including one man that
I can't hear these questions. They even have a microphone floating around.
Well, we had a commission like other people do, and it's always complicated and it's always controversial. And we had commissions that, and I think of respected people, you know many of the people on the
This is
commission.
January 6th, who is this?
And they would recommend to me certain pardons for certain people.
Oh, the pardons.
Some people were treated very harshly.
Pardoning the January 6th.
A fantastic woman, as you know, she served 24 years for being on a phone call having to do with drugs. You know who I'm talking about. She was great. And she had another 24 years to go. And it was largely about marijuana, which in many cases is now legalized.
Oh, that was the Kim Kardashian case.
But we had many very highly regarded people on a commission, and they'd recommend, and they'd put a reason why.
Yeah.
Some people were, served time, but they served a lot of time for something that today people wouldn't even serve time by. Well, for the most part, I think they did. I mean, they did. They go through. They went through. I had a commission. It was a very important commission to me, and highly respected people. And frankly, they came up with some decisions that I wouldn't necessarily agree with, but I did it. But I let a lot of people out that had no representation. I went to people in jails, in prison that we respected. I said, how many of these people should be let out? We let out large groups of low-income people that were serving like 40 years for something that today you wouldn't even be put in jail for. We had very few people let out because I said I really don't want to let people out where they had a lot of violence, where they had killing, et cetera, et cetera. And for the most part, we didn't do that. Yeah, please.
Do you, if you win in November, do you want more of a say or defend on issues like the interest rate? And do you think that you can manage over the Federal Reserve? And do you think that you can manage a soft landing in the economy given the current leadership?
Right. Well, look, the Federal Reserve is a very interesting thing, and it's sort of gotten it wrong a lot. And he's tending to be a little bit late on things. He gets a little bit too early and a little bit too late. And, that's very largely it's a gut feeling. I believe it's really a gut feeling. And I used to have it out with him. I had it out with him a couple of times very strongly. I fought him very hard. And, we get along fine. We get along fine. But I feel the president should have at least say in there. Yeah, I feel that strongly. I think that in my case, I made a lot of money. I was very successful. And I think I have a better instinct than, in many cases, people that would be on the Federal Reserve or the chairman. Yeah.
Harris supports rescheduling marijuana and also says that no one should go to prison for marijuana.
No one should go to prison for marijuana.
Well, as we legalize it, I start to agree a lot more because, it's being illegalized all over the country. Florida has something coming up. I'll be making a statement about that fairly soon. But as we legalize it throughout the country, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's awfully hard to have people all over the jails that are in jail right now for something that's legal. So I think, obviously, there's a lot of sentiment to doing that. Yeah, please.
Hunter Biden will be happy to hear that. Hunter Biden will be happy to hear about the legalization of marijuana.
Well, you'll have to ask her that question because she's the one that said it. I didn't say it.
I didn't hear the question.
So you'll have to ask her, and I very much appreciate that question, but you'll have to ask her. But I've known her for a long time. I actually contributed to her campaign a long time ago because I was a developer. I contributed to lots of campaigns of Democrats, Republicans, and some were liberal and some were conservative. But you'll have to ask her about that. But to me, it doesn't matter.
I missed the question. I don't know.
But to her, from her standpoint, I think it's very disrespectful to both, really. Whether it's Indian or black, I think it's very disrespectful to both.
Oh.
To me, it doesn't matter. Please, red dress.
One in the assassination. Is your ear fully recovered? Is there a scar? Do you have any hearing damage from that?
Pretty much recovered, yeah. I'm a fast healer. It's a hell of a shot, but I'm a fast healer. Yeah, pretty much recovered.
Hearing damage from it?
No, it didn't hit that. I got very lucky.
Mr. President,
It just hit the lobe, as they call it.
Is there a scar on your ear?
Yeah, a little bit. Not much.
I want to ask you about your mass deportation plan.
A little bit.
You've been running on the idea that mass deportation to the biggest in American history is basically what you want.
Yeah.
When Senator Vance has been asked
All right, yeah, let's talk about
suggested that really
the mass deportation plan.
Well, we're starting that, yeah.
Pay for it.
We are going to start the largest mass deportation in the history of our country because we have no choice. It's not sustainable. And we are going to start with violent criminals, and we're going to start then with criminals. And our local police is going to work with us because they know everything about the people. They know their names. They know everything about them. They know their middle name. They know their numbers. And as you know, the other side is trying. Look, For years, I wondered, why are they allowing these people to come in at levels like this? It was incredible. And I said 2 reasons. They're either really stupid, and I don't believe they're stupid, because anybody that can cheat in elections like they cheat is not stupid. Or, in the alternative, they have bad motives or they hate our country. And I used to think they hate our country. But lately I've seen where they're trying to sign these people up to vote. And they have to stop. They cannot let illegal immigrants vote in this upcoming election. All right, one more question.
One more question.
Go
Last
ahead,
question. Here we go.
Make it a good one, please.
Make it a good one.
Regarding Social Security taxes for seniors, we talked about,
Right.
Experts say that the policy could increase the deficit by $1.6 trillion. So how would it work in your view?
We have so many ways of making money in this country. We're not going to affect our Social Security. We're not changing it. And I put
about
that
oil.
over 4 years. And we're going to do it. It's very unfair to people. They spend their life and they're great citizens and they pay in. We're not going to charge tax to Social Security, the seniors. We're not going to do it. We're not going to charge. And also tax. I say the 2 things. We're going to have no tax on seniors, Social Security, and we're going to have no tax on tips. Very simple. And we are a country that has so many different ways to make money. We have under our feet more liquid gold, I call it oil,
gold
and gas, than any country in the world, much more than Saudi Arabia, much more than Russia. We have so many different ways we can make money. We're not going to hurt our seniors with Social Security, and we're not going to charge them tax, okay?
Deportation plan, one follow-up. If sanctuary cities or municipalities are unwilling to cooperate, how do you plan to enforce that and use the federal government?
We should not have sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities is a way of protecting criminals, and we should not have sanctuary cities. And if you go to California, and I know it well, I have property out there, great property.
So much for the last question, by the way.
You go to California and you ask the people of California, do they like the idea of sanctuary cities? They don't like it. They're tired of it. They're tired of crime. They're tired of what's happened to our country. Our country's become a crime-ridden mess, and we're going to stop it on November 5th. Thank you very much, everybody. Go. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and he's walking off. A smattering of applause.
Okay.
All right, there you go. So there you go. All right, so let's enough of that. All right, let me take these off for a second. Let's recap, shall we? Let's recap what we learned from the Donald Trump press conference. And then I'm going to take some of your questions or read some of your comments too. So if you're on YouTube or Rumble and you want to leave a Rumble rant or a super chat, do it now. We already got a couple, and we got a couple new subscribers, and I'm thrilled about that as well. And thank you. Shout out to D. Dockery, and thank you to Julie Toomey and Disney Up Boiler Up or Boiler Up Disney, whatever. It's one or the other. We have a lot of great mods out there who are managing the chat and reminding you about all the great ways that you can help the show, because the only reason I'm able to sit here and host this press conference with you and answer your questions and play sound effects and that kind of thing is because of your generosity, because we're independent now. Independent broadcasting, ain't it a hoot? So super chats, Rumble rants, if you want to buy a shirt, if you want to subscribe to any of the channels, we love all that. Let me recap here quickly. Here are the big things. So a couple of the questions. Oh my God, how great was that question from I don't know who it was. I got to find out who it was. Some reporter. Donald Trump calls this press conference as a campaign event. Okay, this is a campaign event. I don't know. I guess he didn't realize there's a presidential campaign going on. Donald Trump calls a press conference. It's being held live on Newsmax, on Fox News, I'm not even sure. I'll be honest with you. I don't even really know what other channels this is being held on, but it's all over the internet. We live streamed it on YouTube and Rumble and X. It's everywhere. And she says to him, "Why aren't you doing any campaign events? Why have you cut down on your campaign events?" And he looks like he goes, "What a dumb question. What are we doing right now? What do you think this is? You think I'm doing this press conference for my health? You think I'm doing this press conference because somebody said, you know what you should do? Hang out with reporters more?" He stood up there for an hour and he answered questions because Kamala Harris isn't answering questions. And the big thing, the big announcement, really, the big thing that came out of this was the debates. There are 3 debates. Donald Trump and his team have scheduled 3 debates. They've scheduled 3 debates with, the first one is with Fox News on September 4th. That's the one we knew about. That's the one that he agreed upon. Couple of surprises. There's another one on September 10th on NBC, which he said they're very close to hammering out all the details and making sure that that one's going to go off without a hitch. And then there's another one on the 25th with ABC, which is a little shocking because we talked about that that pending litigation. Donald Trump is suing ABC. He's suing George Snuffleupagus because of the accusations they made regarding E. Jean Carroll and calling him a rapist repeatedly in that interview with Nancy Mace. So, and then there's a VP event on CBS. Anyway, that's what's going on. So he's like, look, there's 3 debates. We've agreed to the terms with all the networks. We're waiting on Kamala Harris's campaign, and now she's going to have to be pressured to answer. September 4th on Fox, September 10th on NBC, September 25th on ABC. As far as we know, the only one she's interested in is the ABC debate because ABC is very friendly to the campaign. ABC is very friendly to the Democrat Party. The whole network is run by the former communications director for the Bill Clinton White House. So, duh. And the Fox News debate, she's probably not at all thrilled about because Fox News is Fox News. So that's where it stands right now. Now, the debate on the 4th is very important because the debate on the 4th is before any of the early voting starts. As Donald Trump pointed out, I think the earliest state is California. It may be California. Their early voting and their mail-in ballots start going on September the 9th, which means you could vote before the debate if the debate was held after that. And there's 2 debates scheduled after that. So Trump's saying, look, it's always important. You got to hear from the candidates before you vote. You can't have a candidate shirk a debate. You can't have a candidate sneak around and not answer questions and not stand up in front of the country and not stand up in front of their opponent and answer questions about what they would do if they actually got the job of president of the United States. You can't vote for somebody until they're given the opportunity to do that. So that's why these debates are so important. That's why the September 4th debate is so important. The September 10th debate is so important. In fact, I'll be honest with you, that debate with Joe Biden may have been too early. If that debate with Joe Biden were on September 4th, after the Democrat National Convention, maybe, just maybe, Kamala Harris wouldn't be the candidate and we wouldn't see this surge. He said, look, the honeymoon period for Kamala will end. He knows how it works. We talked about this earlier. I said 90 days is a long time. 89 days, however many we have, it's a long time. And he's like, she's going out. She's got her buddy that she's taking around. She's hooting and hollering. She's doing all these campaign events. She's yelling at protesters.
If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that. Otherwise, I'm speaking.
Yeah. And then what she's going to do is she's going to go to the convention. It's going to be a whole thing. They're going to have a whole week of that. So why would he campaign? Save up your money, save up your dough. She's going to be sucking all the air out of the room. She's going to be getting all of the press and the publicity, and that's fine. After that, though, he'll be back out on the road. He'll be back doing events. I would like to point out, though, however, that even while he's not traveling, he's got J.D. Vance going out and doing events. Even while he's not traveling, he's inviting live streamers to Mar-a-Lago like Aiden Ross to do record-breaking live streams to Generation Z, a whole generation of gamers who maybe didn't know Donald Trump or didn't support Donald Trump or weren't sure who this Donald Trump character was. And now all of a sudden they're like, damn, I got to vote for that guy. If I want to save my TikTok, I got to vote for Donald Trump. All this money I'm making from live streamers and super chats and Rumble rants and all these gifts that people are giving me on Kick and Twitch and everywhere else. If I want to save that money, if I don't want the government coming after that money, I got to vote for Donald Trump. Cardi B was the same way for a while until she fell back into her own way. But those debates are the big story. So now Kamala Harris, whenever she takes questions, if she ever takes questions, is going to have to answer the question, why aren't you agreeing to the debates? Have you agreed to the debates? When are you going to agree to the debates? Over and over and over again. That's going to be the point that's hammered home. And she can't, as he pointed out, he goes, look, she can't debate. It's not that she doesn't want to hold a press conference, it's that she's physically unable to hold a press conference. She can't sit down and speak extemporaneously to people.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
I mean, that's what you're going to get with Kamala Harris. So they're trying to keep her off of that platform as long as possible. But there's 3 debates scheduled, as well as that VP debate with J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, maybe, unless, of course, they may need to make a change there as well. Monday night, he wants to remind you that he's on with Elon Musk. Elon Musk live on X will be, get this, not just hosting this one-on-one with Donald Trump on X, which is incredible. It's an incredible opportunity. It's an incredible experience. Not only is he hosting it, but apparently Elon Musk is asking the questions. Elon Musk is interviewing Donald Trump, which I'm going to be honest with you, that in and of itself, I don't know if you've ever heard Elon Musk ask people questions, but he's got a very deliberate kind of way of speaking. It may be It may be lengthy, is all I'm saying. Because Donald Trump likes to talk and Elon Musk takes a long time to talk. So between the two of them, I would take a nap Monday afternoon if you're going to be experiencing that live, because it might take a while. What else we got? Here we go. Georgia. They asked him about his relationship with Brian Kemp, and he was very honest. He said, look, I don't know if our relationship's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be remedied. He said, I hope it does. Donald Trump doesn't want political enemies. He doesn't want people taking advantage of his loyalty and his help and his aid and assistance. He doesn't want other Republicans from important states like Georgia. Georgia's a very important state to the Republican Party. Atlanta's a very important city. You know, it's a big populated state. There's a lot of money. It's sandwiched, like you said, between Alabama and Florida and South Carolina and Tennessee and all these other Republican strongholds. It's shocking that there should be any question as to which side of the aisle Georgia lands on. But he's like, maybe our relationship will work out, maybe it won't. But at the same time, it's all about the people of Georgia. And the people of Georgia were better under Donald Trump. The people of Georgia are going to be better under Donald Trump. And let's face it, the people of Georgia are better under Brian Kemp. And Donald Trump wants to remind everybody, oh yeah, I helped him get elected. He was having some trouble with Stacey Abrams. He just wants honest elections. He said, what else? Oh, they asked a lot about abortion, and Donald Trump did couple of very smart things. He said, number one, abortion is a state's issue. I gave it to the states. Kamala Harris keeps showing up she keeps talking, spreading this lie, this just ridiculous, it's not just a lie. It's almost irresponsible the way she talks about how Donald Trump wants to ban abortions, because he said on several occasions, I'm not going to ban abortions. I have no desire to ban abortions. It's back to the states. I gave it back to the states. Now the states are going to have to decide, and the states are making those decisions one by one. You may not like the decision of your state. If you're in Kansas, if you're in Ohio, you may be like, whoa, that's a much more liberal position on abortion than I thought my red state was going to take. But it doesn't matter, because it's your state's obligation. It's your state's duty. It's your state's right, according to the Constitution. Whatever rights not granted hereof shall be returned to the states, the United States of America. And I think Donald Trump answered that pretty well. He kept dropping Ronald Reagan. He goes, look, like Ronald Reagan, I believe that there should be concessions. I believe that the rape, incest, the life of the mother, all that kind of stuff. He kept relaying it back to Ronald Reagan, conservative icon. And then he said, I think it's a much smaller issue than it used to be because of what's been going on with the states. Kamala Harris trying to make it a big issue because she can't talk about any other issues. The mass deportation plan, they asked him about that. Why he wouldn't lock up Hillary. They asked about that, and he said, that he didn't think it was right to lock up. I love this too. He totally demoted Hillary Clinton. This was a fantastic piece of politics. He totally demoted Hillary Clinton. He said, look, everyone wanted me to lock her up. They were chanting, lock her up. All the MAGA faithful were like, lock her up, put her in jail, all the things she did. He goes, she's the wife of a former president. It would be wrong. I just looked at the optics and I was like, I'm not going to lock up the wife of a former president. Totally demoted her. Senator Clinton, get out of here. Secretary Clinton, Secretary of State, pish posh. You're the wife of a former president. I'm not going to put some former president's wife in prison, even though they'll send the FBI to my house to go through a former president's wife's underwear drawer like a bunch of perverts. He praised the FBI. He praised the Secret Service. No shock there. He likes to do that kind of thing. He talked about the unthinkable relationship Joe Biden has let formulate between China and North Korea and now also Russia. And this was my favorite. He's baiting Joe Biden. I don't know if you heard it. It was early on. He was baiting Joe Biden. He was talking about how badly they treated Joe Biden, how angry Joe Biden is, how they pushed him out. He kept saying, quite frankly, Joe Biden wanted to run. He wanted to run. He wanted to be president. He said, I had a bad night. I had a bad debate, but it's okay. I'm still ready to do this thing. And they said, we could do this the easy way, Joe, or we could do it the hard way. And Joe Biden is now furious with all of them. Nancy Pelosi, furious with Barack Obama, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, and of course, Kamala Harris too, who he endorsed. He's probably furious with all of them. He wants to be president. He wants to run, and Donald Trump is baiting him into showing up to crashing the DNC and trying some kind of wild plan to come back. I'd love to see it personally. I think that'd be fantastic. So that's basically what went on. We'll have more of it tomorrow on the podcast. I'm going to have to wrap up here soon, but really quick, I wanted to go see, there were some super chats that came in and I wanted to mention them. The first one, CA Smirk at the very beginning of the broadcast dropped $1. Thank you so much. Let me make that a little louder. There we go. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. And wrote, are you going to use locals anymore? That's a great question. And that is one that I get often. And the question is yes, but I don't know in what capacity. The question is yes, I will somehow be using locals again, but we're not really sure where it fits to the grand scheme of things. We're still not really sure on the daily basis what we're doing. We're doing the podcast, we're doing the live stream, we're doing this, that. We're posting videos, we're on TikTok, we're everywhere. And we're trying to figure out the best formulation for the plan. But I know people like locals. I know we have a lot of supporters on locals. And I know people want to have some kind of locals involvement. And we'll have to figure that one out. But we will get back to locals for sure. Let me go back to the live chat, see what else is going on here. What is happening? I have to use my phone, which is always tricky for me. Let's go to Rumble real quick because we have a lot of people watching on Rumble. CA Smirk, again, with $2. That's $3 now. Thank you so much. Thank you for this live, and I love Mark Kaye laughing. Well, I appreciate that. I love to laugh. And with Kamala Harris in the race, I laugh a lot more. By the way, thanks to all of our Rumble subscribers, too. Guest Jem, Nancy Roskowski, 25, CA Smirk, of course, again. Everybody who subscribes, just by subscribing, you also help out our channel a lot as well. Let me go back to YouTube here real quick before we wrap it up. And all right, we have so many. Disney up, Boiler up. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate it. Thanks to all our subscribers. And there's a lot of links. Oh, by the way, yeah, if you're looking for the podcast, just go to markkaye.com. MarkKaye.com will put you on our K-Treat email list. It'll give you links to all of our channels and our podcast links and everything else. So it's an easy thing it's an easy kind of catch-all. Plus, I send out emails all the time, and you're going to be able to see what we're up to. I'll be able to tell you what we're planning. If we've got events, we have a couple of events coming up. I think we're going to do something on election night, but I don't know yet. We're going to work on that. I think we're going to start traveling. I think there's some places we want to go. And the really exciting thing about being a podcaster now professionally is that the audience is not just local or located in one. I mean, yes, we were nationwide, but we had a lot of listeners, for example, here in Jacksonville. We had a lot of listeners in Dayton, Ohio. We had a lot of listeners in Tulsa, Orlando, Atlanta, that kind of area. So we kind of knew where everyone was. But just looking at the people that are purchasing our products, for example, at Mark Kaye Shop, we're selling all this great gear. And I've been going through and I see people from all over the country. It's not just, so-and-so in Jacksonville or St. Augustine or DeLand or Lake City or New Brunswick or any of those places kind of around the radio station listing area are buying your stuff. Now it's people from, Las Vegas and Washington and Portland and Maine and Connecticut and Illinois. And that's such a great thing to see. And we're so excited about that. And we're just going to keep growing it every single day. And when there's opportunities to do this kind of thing, like host a live, I'm not going to do it on Monday night with Elon and Donald Trump because I kind of just want to listen to that. And like I said, I think there's going to be it's going to be a lengthy event, so I want you to enjoy that on your own. But this was an impromptu thing that we did during the debate. We'll probably figure out ways to do it as well. If you have any other ideas or anything else that you think we should do to benefit your listener, your Patriot experience, by all means, I'm all up for it. All right, I got to go. I actually have another interview coming up at 4:00, and then tomorrow, and then we're going to just immediately start planning for tomorrow's show. Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. The podcast from today is up now. Go to iTunes, go to Spotify, go to wherever, and download if you haven't heard it. And thanks so much for watching, guys. This was fun.